Okay guys, so today I'm going to take you out for a drive in a Porsche 911 just around Esher and Cobham, Oxshott in Surrey, the UK. So this is a 997 Generation 1. Those are aftermarket LED lights on the back. I installed those because one of the bulbs went out, so let's hop in. Take this music down. This is a nice area to drive around. There are a lot of footballers around here, so you may see some really nice cars. There's quite a lot of Ferraris, McLarens, Bentleys. Okay. Now, I normally drive with the windows down, so I'm not sure if there's going to be too much sound if I do that, so let's see how we do. I think I'll just leave the sunroof down. Right, now I always drive, this is a Tiptronic, I always drive it in the manual setting. Okay, so let's rock and roll. The reason I do that is because I like to have control over engine braking. I don't actually use the brakes that often, to be honest with you. Only when I have come to an absolute stop. And you'll see what I mean when I start moving. We're going to go right now. So this is a really nice place to drive. We're in the suburbs here, as you'll see. It's a nice wide road. So I'm in manual now, second gear, shift up to third. Obviously there's a car in front of me. Often if you come down here nice and early, you get an empty road. So I've owned 911s now for about 10 years. I had a 996 Targa before this. I hope this head cam isn't too nausea inducing for you, and I hope you can hear me with this setup. Right, I could overtake this guy when it's safe to do so. Oh, he's turning off, or she's turning off. So here we go, we can get away. So yeah, the 997 Series 1, which this is by far my favourite 911. I think it's where Porsche just got it right, you know. They just hit the sweet spot with looks, with it being naturally aspirated, with the rear wheel drive. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the 996 and 997 Turbo with Mezger engine, but you know, it's four wheel drive. Yeah, I prefer the NA cars with rear wheel. I think they're a bit more truer to the originals. I know they're water cooled, but you know, it being water cooled does allow improvements in speed. So I know the purists don't like the water cooled cars, but there we are. Right, I'm in third gear. I'm not going to go past, right, drop down to second. I'm not going to go round just yet because that's kind of a blind corner. Right, let's go back up to third again. Right, I'm definitely going to take this guy over, or gal. Up to fourth. That's a nice thing I find about, you know, having a reasonably powerful car. I think it's a lot safer on the road because there are many times when I've gotten myself out of, you know, tight situations by using the acceleration of the car. Where, you know, if I'd been in a slower car, I wouldn't have been able to escape the situation. I wonder if we're going to stumble across any Ferraris. That can be a game for the day. As I say, there are a lot of really nice cars around here. I am actually wearing my GoPro on a head strap, so if anyone points and laughs, it could be because of that, or it could be just because of my face, I don't know, but just to give you a heads up. Okay, so we got 40 here. I-70 road. That's the Fairmile over there, Fairmile pub. There are a lot of Porsche meets from there's a website called 911 UK, you may or may not have heard of, and they have meetups there. Lots of 911 drivers go there, catch up with each other. Right, go through a 30 now. I was thinking about this earlier. I don't think I could ever, Aston Martin, I don't think I could ever switch cars, you know, because I've just gotten so used to driving 911s. You know, I've been driving them for the last decade. You know, when you get used to the dynamics of that flat six at the back, having all the weight over the rear wheels, most of the weight, it's, you drive in a certain way, you know. The 911 lets you, there's a 911 turbo parked up over there, 991. Having the weight over the rear wheels just lets you accelerate through corners. So I'm going to do here. Which is, you know, the weight goes to the back and just pins the wheels down, which is amazing in my view. Let's do it again here. You know, you can't do that in many other cars, certainly not with front engine cars, unless you're relying on the traction control. And in fact, in a 911, that's the best thing to do, is to always be on the acceleration, you know. I was driving in winter on one occasion, probably not the wisest thing to do in a rear-wheel drive car. And on a corner I was taking, I hit some black ice, and the car went into a skid. Fortunately, I remembered not to ease off or take my foot off the accelerator pedal by any means. Otherwise you'll offload the weight from the rear to the front and the car will go into a spin. And that worked. By keeping the weight on the back, I eventually drove out of the skid and just carried on up the road. Here comes another 911, I'd say, in the distance. Yep, just passing us. Another 997. Generation 1, same as this. So yeah, by doing that I just drove out of the skid. And it probably looked quite cool to any bystanders, but I nearly saw my pants, to be fair. Okay, let's just go down here now with some sort of country lanes. But to each their own. I mean, you know, I think if you want a status symbol, then you can drive a Ferrari or an Aston Martin. I'm not saying that, you know, particularly Ferraris are not good cars to drive. Obviously there are some awesome models, but they're just not for me. They're just the heritage and the driving style of a 911 is everything. You know, honing that design over 6 decades is something special. Again, we can accelerate through this corner with no problem. We don't need to slow down. This guy, is he going to brake? And that's another thing, you know, for the last, what, 5 or so minutes I've been talking, I haven't touched the brake at all, other than the few times I've come for an absolute stop, such as when I you know, stopped at lights or a junction. With the engine braking, you know, 3.8 litre engine, you know, for example here I'm dropping down to second, I haven't touched the brakes, I don't need to. Having such a big engine in such a small car is fantastic for engine braking, which I really like. I've tried that in other cars I own. You know, for example, I've got an X5, a Carn Edition X5, and that's got, you know, a comparatively small engine for the size of the car. It's a 3-ton car, and it doesn't work at all. I can't really. Engine braking is just futile. Same with the 330e. Engine braking doesn't work. You can hear yourself downshift, but it doesn't. The engine's not big enough to stop the car. Whereas in this car, it's fantastic. You know, it's all about changing the gears. I never drive this car in fully automatic mode. I always control the gears myself. It gives you a lot of power. Don't know if you can hear the engine very well. I don't know how much this mic is or isn't picking up. So So I'm in third right now. I'm going to drop to second here as I take these corners. Back to third, I'm down to second again. I'm going to accelerate through this curve. Nice and fast, going up to third. There's no need for me to get brakes involved at this stage, you know. It's actually much safer, as I say, to keep the weight on the back wheels really, to pin the car to the road and then just accelerate out of any corners. We're now at national speed limit, amazingly, on such a narrow road, which is kind of neat. Would I recommend owning a 997? Absolutely. Absolutely. I owned a 996 before for about 3 years. It was a 996 Targa, the second generation. And don't get me wrong, I love that car. But to me, the 997 just nails the whole package a lot more. You know, without getting into a debate about the headlights. I mean, my personal stance on that, everyone out obviously has their own view. My personal stance is I still think it's a good looking car, but I kind of agree the lights don't really fit a model like the Targa or the Carrera 2 or Carrera 4. You know, because they were designed for the turbo. When you look at the history of that car, the lights were designed as part of, you know, the package of, you know, the side vents and the various embellishments on the turbo model. I think when you remove those, to me, it doesn't quite look right. It's my personal view. And you know, again, the heritage of the round lights is very strong. You know, someone sees a 997, you know, even an elderly person, they'll often bring to mind, you know, the older, you know, maybe the original 911. It still looks quite similar with the round headlights. Yeah. As I say, it's a really nice area to drive around here. There's a lot of countryside. It's through the suburbs. I feel sorry for those drivers you see in central London. I know a guy that owns a Turbo S that lives in London, and he never gets to let it out whatsoever. Just sort of stop and start, which is a real shame. And we're really going to have to drop our speed now. We're coming through a 20 zone here. We've got about 4 seconds 0 to 60 on this car, which is plenty fast enough for me. That's another thing with the turbo. I think it's with our, you know, with the speed limits on our roads, it's almost overkill, isn't it? I think it's very hard to stay within the limits with the turbo. It just wants to go faster. And again, I love the roar of the NA. I'm going to take the windows down. I don't know if you're going to hear the acceleration, but it's kind of a bassy drone that comes out of the flat 6 that I absolutely love. It's the same on my 996. I believe this is the M97 engine, isn't it, versus the M96 Boxer engine. I just love that sound. Doesn't need a sports exhaust in my mind. I just love this nice deep bassy note. We've not seen many, not really spotted any supercars yet. It kind of surprises me. Let's see if I get to the end of the journey without seeing one. Narrow roads here, so we have to be careful. Right, where am I going? I'm going to go right here. I'm in this Alpha. Let her out a little bit here. I probably should have driven up to Weybridge actually. That's another great area to drive. And around there you really do get a lot of nice cars as well. It's near Brooklands Museum, which is kind of the home of the British racetrack, founded by Hugh King, I believe, many years ago. I'm coming up to Horsley now. It's a lovely autumnal day today. Love autumn. It's optimal weather for me, autumn. Nice and cool and breezy. The leaves falling from the trees. It's a great aesthetic in the British countryside. Speed bumps, ouch, did you hear that scrape? That's the one downside actually, it's a very low front splitter. You have to almost come to a stop on speed bumps. Wow, this is a lovely road to drive on. Lovely winding road. Fantastic. If you want to let your car out, you really need to know where to go. There are roads near where I live that are national speed limit. Quite surprisingly, some of them are completely unlit roads. Whereas this road's at 40, but you think it might be higher really. It's quite an open road. It's a really great drive though. Rugs sale today. I think I'm fully stocked up on my Oriental rugs. Maybe next week. Ockham Village. Please drive slowly. This looks very quaint, doesn't it? Going towards Ripley apparently. Maintenance. I've had this car for about 3 years now, fingers crossed. I've not really had any major repair bills. I've not had any problems with major problems with the engine, certainly, despite all the scare stories you get on the internet. Fingers crossed. A good many cars that can keep up with a 911. There we go, a Carrera S 996. A neutered turbo, right? Unfortunately, looks quite nice. I think it looked quite nice because they've kept some of the styling of the turbo, to my point earlier. I drove a 4S a while back, I didn't really like it. It's that all-wheel drive. No offence to any four-wheel drive 911 owners. To each his own. driven this car all day. Right, 5 miles back to Isha. I think that's the true test of whether you love your car or not, whether you just go out for the sake of it without actually having to go and needing to go anywhere. Right, you can actually go 70 now, which is nice. So Tesla Model X there. Wasn't Doug DeMoro saying that wasn't very good? I saw the video thumbnail but I didn't watch it. This car's got its hazards on. Is he having some kind of problem? He or she? I'm going to stop saying he. Are they having some kind of problem? Lex was a bit wobbly there. I don't know if you spotted that. Kind of veered towards the central lane a bit. Wonder if someone's having a chat. So I'm guessing the 0 to 60 is not too bad on that Model X, despite its what I perceive its weight to, or imagine its weight to be, with the electric drivetrain. Hampton Court Palace, yes, we have Hampton Court Palace around here. The home of that dastardly King Henry VIII. Sunshine. That's nice. Right, I actually need to be going left. I could go to Weybridge now, but I'm not going to. Going to start making my way back home, I think. Yeah, so we could veer off left down to Weybridge, so that'd be towards Brooklands Museum I was talking about earlier. I'm very surprised we haven't seen many sports or supercars. It's quite unusual. Maybe because it's late on a Sunday. What looks like a Cayenne Turbo behind us. 2017 it looks like, from what I can see. Alright guys, I think I'm going to switch off now. Probably be a sort of convoy of McLarens as soon as I do that, going past me, but I might do another one of these videos in the near future if it's of any use to anyone. So thank you, goodbye.